So, someone asked me, how do you know I used AI in my writing? So, I would like to address that. How do people actually know you have used AI in your writing? Honestly, it is rarely just one obvious mistake. It is more like a bunch of small things that feel slightly off when someone reads your work closely, especially experienced readers. AI writing doesn't usually sound wrong. Instead, it sounds too smooth, balanced, or it even becomes a bit too predictable. So let's look at the patterns people notice. The first one is that everything sounds like a list. AI loves repetition. So you get sentences like, it is important to stay consistent, it is important to stay focused, it is important to stay disciplined in one sentence. Or you might get something like, this improves clarity, this improves structure, this improves understanding. Each of these sentences is fine on their own, but after a while, it starts to feel mechanical because human beings break these things up naturally. We would write something like consistency matters, focus matters also, but discipline is what actually holds everything together. That sentence varies, and that variation is what makes human writing feel alive. Then the second sign is that everything comes in groups of three. Everything, when it comes to AI, everything comes in groups of three. So AI leans heavily on what some people call the rule of threes. You get phrases like efficient, effective, and reliable, or another phrase like speed, accuracy, and performance. The problem is not the structure itself, because humans use it too. But the problem is that it happens constantly. When every idea is neatly packaged into three balanced parts, the writing starts to feel like it is following a particular formula instead of actual thinking that human beings do. So also avoid the rule of threes. Then there is another pattern called the it is not X, it is Y. And this one is everywhere in AI writing. For example, a sentence could be, it is not about working harder, it is about working smarter. It is not failure, it is feedback. When you use this thing once or twice, I think it is fine. But AI stacks these things back to back. You see stuff like it is not confusion, it is complexity. It is not weakness, it is learning. It is not delay, it is refinement. After a while, it starts to feel like you are using a template and you are not even doing original thinking. So that is just a straight up sign to show that you are using AI. Then another sign is using emojis that feel slightly off. Sometimes emojis show up in places that don't quite fit the tone. For example, someone might write something about productivity and before you realize they put a rocket symbol there. They'll write something and before you realize they put a light bulb or a mechanical chart there. So human beings use emojis intentionally to either add emotion, humor, or even personality. My favorite is even the laughing emoji. But AI uses them like decorations and puts them in correct spacings and all that. So that is one sign that shows that you're also using AI. Then we also have what is called the uncanny valley of words. The writing is sort of grammatically correct. It even sounds impressive, but something about it feels emotionally or logically off. It's like it doesn't have any real soul. For example, a sentence like, the experience was profoundly ordinary in a meaningful way. Or a sentence like, this creates a deeply structured sense of natural organization. I mean, the words here are valid, but when you put them together, they feel sort of hollow. It's like the sentence is trying to sound deep without actually saying anything concrete. Then we have another sign called fancy language for simple ideas. AI often takes a simple idea and dresses it up in complicated language instead of just going straight to the point. So instead of a sentence like, this helped me understand, it becomes, this facilitated a deeper comprehension of the underlying concept. Instead of a sentence like, it was confusing, it becomes, it introduced a level of interpretive ambiguity. When this happens repeatedly in your writing, the writing sort of feels less like someone explaining something and more like someone trying to sound more formal by default. Then we also have another sign which involves the use of secular sentences that say nothing. Sometimes the grammar works, but the meaning does not land. A sentence like, the idea of progress progresses the understanding of progress itself. Or a sentence like, efficiency is achieved when efficient systems are efficiently implemented. These don't usually come from human writing, unless maybe the person is deliberately being poetic or playful. But in AI writing, these appear because the model looks at this structure and prefers it over actual clarity, because that is what it is being trained on. Then we also have weird shifts in depth. A paragraph might start with a broad statement like, time management is important for success. Then it will suddenly shift into something like, for instance, a student waking up early in a quiet local neighborhood may find that morning routines enhance productivity. The detail here feels real, but it doesn't fully connect to the argument, right? So this mismatch makes the writing feel slightly disconnected. Then we also have over-explaining what is obvious. AI likes to spell out connections that human beings would leave sort of implied. For example, this leads to better results because improved efficiency results in more output, which in turn increases productivity. I mean, the logic is correct, but it is stretched out and over-explained. We all know this. We can deduce what this means from just a short line here. So human beings usually compress this because they trust the reader to follow. Then another sign is being too balanced all the time. It's like every point gets softened or counted, even when it doesn't need to be. An example is, this approach is highly effective, although it may not work in every situation depending on various factors. You see that sentence? It's sort of good, but AI adds too much balance to it. And this makes the writing feel hesitant or makes it feel overly cautious. So instead of taking a very clear position and then adding some nuance where needed, everything becomes equally qualified or carefully weighted. So AI always makes sure that its writing becomes too balanced all the time. It doesn't take a clear stance on issues. Then we can also have too many coherence glue words. Words like therefore, thus, in essence, and as a result. These appear even when the connection is already obvious. AI likes to use these things a lot. So it's like the writing is constantly reminding you that it is being logical instead of just letting the ideas connect naturally to the reader. AI likes to do this a lot. Then when it comes to human writing, we have some sort of uneven structure that we used to write with, like short sentences, sudden shifts in tone, or even emotional interruptions. But AI writing glides smoothly from one sentence to the next without any disruption. So sometimes when everything flows too perfectly, it starts to feel unnatural, right? Because you are human, you have to be uneven. We expect you to have some flaws. Then AI writing also makes things look too complete. Human beings leave small gaps. We assume a shared context. We don't have to spell out every implication. But when it comes to AI likes to fill in everything. It will give you a background, definitions, consequences, and even summaries. AI doesn't leave anything out. It is too complete. And it doesn't leave anything for the reader to interpret. And the writing feels heavy. So when things like this appear and you see it in the writing, you'll be right to suspect that it is AI written. Now, let's look at the bigger picture. None of these things that I've mentioned so far prove that AI was used on their own, because human beings write in structured or polished ways too. But when several of these patterns just come along in the writing together like this, the writing starts to feel constructed rather than something that was naturally thought through. And what readers notice is not a specific AI sign or fingerprint. It is more of a general feeling. The writing is too balanced, too carefully shaped, too predictable, like it was written so that people can read it very, very well. But it is not written in a way that people can think about it in a human way. That is it.
And one other thing is that when it comes to academic writing, for example, theses, dissertations, or certain type of essays that are in academic format, there is sort of a standard procedure for writing all this. So they always follow a specific formula. For example, thesis writing gives you a list of outlines to follow or certain sections to include in your document. So when it comes to AI detection for this type of writings, it is not always 100% because everybody is following the same formula. And if AI also follows the same formula, it is hard to tell, right? It is hard to tell because when it comes to academic writing like thesis, you are using the same phrases. For example, the discussion follows as John and John et al. Said that, or the authors argue that. Those sort of writings are templates that have been laid down for people to follow. So even if you use AI and you write the same thing, someone probably writing this from scratch using his or her own mind is going to use the same formula. It becomes difficult here to detect whether you've used AI in your writing or not. So sometimes when you follow certain formulas and you still get AI detected, or you still get penalized or sanctioned for using AI, you still have a case here, provided you've not used AI at all. So these are some of the only limitations when it comes to detecting some of these AI written aspects here. But other than that, if it's not following a certain formula as specified by your school, institution, or as per standard, then you have to relook at your writing all over again.
So I hope this helps you get a clearer understanding of how people always point out the fact that you've used AI in your writing. All the best. I'll see you in the next one.